Good.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MMAHOLICS podcast. I'm Antoine, and this is Nikki. Today we're doing our UFC 301 breakdown. We got a pretty good card tonight. As y'all see, we are recording this on the day of the fights, Saturday. We're clocking this in at about 4:48 p.m. on a Saturday evening. So just wanted to knock this out for you guys for the card started. Decent card, Nikki. I really feel like it's pretty underrated. I know it was catching a lot of flack, compared to obviously UFC 300, the greatest pay per view of all time. But obviously, it has some pretty decent fights on it, as we're about to see. And yeah, how do you feel about it, man? Before we get started.
I had my doubts about it, but once you started looking at the fights, looking at the odds, there's some really good fights. I'm excited for all the main card fights. Those are really good. There's some banger
Mhm.
prelims. And also, we are 20 episodes into our channel, so that's a big achievement. We've done some pay-per-views. We've done some fight nights. We've done a reaction video, an interview with Ray Longo. So we've done a little bit. 20 episodes in. We're going to keep going strong. So we thank you guys for all your support.
And yeah, like again, like it's really fun to do this. When we first started, it was something that was just supposed to be just a little side thing, but we're definitely gonna try to take as far as we can. And we love having you guys join in the comment section every time. We're literally grateful every single time y'all hop in. We know y'all could be anywhere else, but y'all decide to spend a little bit of time over here. And again, thank y'all for joining us for this card. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. It's a pretty decent card, like we said. You feel me? It's a Brazil card, so we already know what that means. We got some favorable matchups for the Brazilian crowd. Gonna get them in, get their money's worth, and get them out quick. With no bottles thrown in the cage or anything
Mm.
like that. You feel me? And yeah, man. It's a decent poster too. Decent poster for the event. Like, we saw the 302 poster drop the other day, and the 302 poster I thought
That
was
one was
pretty.
fire. I don't like Strickland and Paulo Costa on it, but it's still a fire card regardless.
Nah, I feel you. Yeah, man, I can't wait for that New Jersey card. June 1st, baby. So definitely gonna break that down when it's time. But
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
man, gonna go ahead and get started with the first fight of UFC 301. Costa versus Borjas. Kevin Borjas. I was gonna go with Alessandro Costa in this one, Nikki. I know that he got knocked out by Amir Bazi. And he lost to Steve Erceg, but obviously we know how good those guys are now. Amir Al-Basi is like the number 3 ranked fighter, coming off of surgery, so he'll be back in action soon. But Steve Erceg, and he's fighting for the belt. You feel me? So we'll find out how good he really is tonight in a few hours. But he looked really good in the matchup against Alessandro Costa, and I still think Costa's a good fighter, man. Like in terms of his career, like he has 4 wins by knockout, 6 wins via submission, and he's never been submitted. He has 0 losses via sub. And he has 3 wins via decision. So pretty well-rounded fighter, you could definitely say. A lot of finishes by armbar. Even has a win by flying armbar. To show you that's definitely a pretty crazy Brazilian jiu-jitsu skill set. Um, he has decent hands too. I know he got knocked down by Albazi, but I still think that he's a decent boxer. And he'll use it to really set up the grappling really well. And I think that's going to be a problem for Kevin Porras. I think Kevin kind of struggles with the takedown defense. And I do think that Alessandro can get the fight to the ground. Kevin did look good in the Van fight. I'm really high on Joshua Van. But I just really think that Alessandro can really come out and just really get a finish. I was gonna go with maybe like a third round submission for Costa. I think they're gonna come out, really go back and forth over the first 2 rounds. So get the takedowns here and there, and due to like a tired Kevin, I think Costa can get the third round. So.
Word. Yeah, I'm also going to be taking Alessandro Costa in this fight. I have him by a decision. Odds are at plus 280, so that's that. Um, yeah, when your only 2 losses are to top contenders in a division, especially flyweight, a division that's like all these dudes can defend the takedown pretty much, and Borjas just can't. I mean, his takedown defense is at 56%, which is pretty low. The Joshua Van fight was good. Did love Joshua Van. He's a really good striker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, That one did go to a decision, I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah, I just think Costa's just gonna control him for the majority of this fight. Just clinch him, get him down to the ground. Some ground and pound here and there, but it's as simple as that for this one.
Nah, yeah, I agree, bro. Again, I think he can really come out, get a win in front of his friends and family. If it does go to a decision, we know who they're gonna give it to. Even if it's a split, especially if it's a split, I think it's definitely gonna go to Costa. And yeah, man, moving on to the next fight. It's a decent one as well. Uh, pretty good banger, pretty good banger. Ismael Bonfim versus Vince Pichel from Hell. You feel me? I was gonna go with Bonfim in this fight. You feel me? I just really think. I mean, outside of the age, because I think Vince Pichel is a good enough fighter where he can like beat younger fighters. I really think it's just really like Bonfim's aggressive skill set in this matchup. I know he lost to Benoit Saint Denis, but I feel like that was because of his approach in that fight. He was just allowing him to kick him, hurt him to the body, really just trying to prove his toughness. And I really feel like he knows he has to get a victory. That's why I feel like he had a pretty decent layoff coming into this fight from the Benoit fight. I think he watched that fight over and over and over. It was really upset, coming out catching that loss like that. We saw his brother lose to Nicholas Dalby, and I really feel like that probably lit a fire under both of them. And we know iron sharpest iron, and they were probably going crazy in the training room, and they both went in like, well, he wants to come out and get a crazy victory in front of the home crowd. We know when he flying kneed Terrence McKinney, that was absolutely insane. And like we know what he's capable of. He's a good striker, a good boxer, has good leg kicks. In decent jiu-jitsu himself. Like don't let that one submission loss fool. Benoit Saint Denis is a really good grappler.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Benoit was able to do to Dustin Poirier with a staph infection until BSD unfortunately suffered a knockout in that fight. And with Vince Pichel, man, he of course we all know Vince Pichel. He's a veteran, man. I just wish throughout his career, man, he was just a little bit more active. Coming out in his 40s in this matchup, man, I think it's gonna be pretty difficult against a young young upcoming dude like this. Especially just how aggressive he is. He's 7-3 inside the UFC. But of course he lost to Mark Madsen in his last fight, and before that he beat Austin Hubbard, Jim Miller, and Roosevelt Roberts. All that was from 2019 to 2021. So that shows you, like I said, he definitely can beat younger fighters because he was definitely the older fighter in most of those matchups. But I just think with this, I think Bonfim is just a really good fighter with his striking, man. And I think this is going to be a stand-up fight. And I think he could go out there and probably get a knockout. I was going to go with Bonfim like a second round KO.
Okay. I'm taking Bonfim in this fight, but I'm going to take him by a decision. I just think Vince Pichel has the experience to make this one a gritty fight. He's going to challenge him. I've started to notice that, when we see these 39, 40, 41-year-old fighters that have fights coming up, I thought it was with Clay Guida and the heavyweight. I'm drawing a blank right now, but they're not cones, you know what I mean? They challenge these younger fighters, even the prospects that are really good, like the Bonfim brothers. Like I said, I think he can make it a gritty fight. I think he could challenge him. I don't think he's going to beat him, but I think this one could go to a decision. Pichel does have some good wins in the past, so there's the experience there. Bonfim at decision is plus 160, so that makes his money line look a little better, because that's obviously what do we have for his money line? It is minus 550. So I mean, there's no point of even betting that. That's just an bet, in my opinion. So yeah, I would take him by a knockout or a decision. I'd just say decision in this one.
Nah, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I guess I was going with the knockout because I think he's just gonna be super aggressive with that Brazilian crowd. We saw him get that flying knee over Terrence McKinney, and I really think he's gonna come out just with the energy of the crowd, like that walk to the cage for all the Brazilian fighters. It's just gonna be just insane, so. Great fight, one of my favorite fights on the card. It's cool breaking the cards down on the day of, because it's not like you don't gotta wait 5 days after.
Yeah, we got an hour.
Seriously, literally until we see the fights take place. Definitely can't wait for this one. And yeah, man, moving on to the next one. got the ladies in this one. Yeah, man. So both these girls are fairly talented. I really do believe so. They got good records, both of them, obviously. If I had to choose personally, man, I was gonna go with Dion Barbosa in this fight, man. Um, I think, I just like her jujitsu a lot. She has 3 wins via sub and never been submitted herself. She has been knocked out before, but that was by Josiane Nunes, who we know hits like a truck, in that 5'2" frame. And yeah, man, I think, just with her momentum right now coming off the 3 wins, um, and like even then, it's just I really feel like just being in Brazil is gonna help her out a lot too, man. I really do feel that way. I feel like all these people know like it's the biggest fight of their lives. Like she's coming off Contender Series. We saw her get the submission off Contender Series in the first round with the armbar, and I feel like that's telling of her momentum. Um, and I feel like she had a really good camp. She doesn't have to go far to take this fight, and I really feel like, man, she's gonna come out here with a lot of aggression to get the fight to the ground. Um, and like Ernesta, she's a good fighter too, man. I think she's definitely a decent striker. She's 25 years old, so she's really young. She's 5'9". And we saw her beat Carly Judas on Contender Series by split decision. So that lets you know how close of a fight it was. But as you can see on her resume, she's had to kick some kickboxing fights. So she definitely, will be the better striker in this fight. I just think that, Dion Barbosa can really impose her will and get the fight to the ground. Also, I didn't think Anesta beat that good a competition. She beat an 0-0 girl, 0-1 girl, 0-0 again. And like I say, you always fight who you're given. And even then, she beat a 4-0 girl, Latilia Blott. But I really think that Dion Barbosa, the biggest part of the fight for me is her momentum in this fight. Like I said, multiple times, she's fighting in Brazil, fighting at home in front of her friends and family, and accompanied by the momentum. I think she's going to come out like a bat out of hell, be super determined to take any strike that this girl throws. And it's just going to all that energy is going to drive more force to the takedowns, and like more force to the aggression to make her want to put her foot on the gas. And I think she could come out and maybe get like a second round sub over Ernesto.
Yeah, I also like Dion Barbosa in this fight. It's hard to pick between a sub or a decision fight, because it could easily go both ways. But one thing
Mm-hmm.
that's important to realize is this reach advantage, right? So you're facing a striker with like a 5-inch reach advantage on you.
Right.
And a height advantage, so there's no reason you're gonna want to stand and bang. Um,
Mm-mm.
they call her heavy-handed, but she has 2 wins by knockout early in their first two, or 2 out of her first 3 pro fights. So
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't like pose a threat in my opinion of a knockout. I think it's just going to be like a higher output, if anything. I wouldn't call it too heavy-handed, because
Right.
that kind of nickname goes to someone who's knocking people out consistently, I feel. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think Dion's going to take it to the ground. I like her either at submission or decision. Yeah, there's just no reason she would stay on the feet and bang with her. That's just how you would lose this fight, honestly. So I think
Mm-hmm.
she'll take it to the ground, show that jujitsu, and yeah, hopefully sub her in front of the crowd, get a nice finish.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I think it's gonna be a good one too, man. I feel like these girls are really gonna come out and like just bang. Once a striker, so she's gonna already be half of that. Trying to stand up and have and just impose that kind of game plan on her. And Dion's gonna have none of that. And he's trying to get the fight to the ground.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it plays out. And yeah, she's a minus 240 favorite according to Topology. So obviously, we're not the only ones feeling the same way about her getting the victory. And I do think she can get the sub in the fight. And yeah, man, we'll see how it goes, bro. Moving on to another fight that's definitely gonna have a knockout.
Mhm.
Mauricio Ruffy versus Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, man, I was gonna go with Mauricio in this fight. It's just Jamie Malarkey's chin at this point, man. I really feel like it's really starting to go, man. Of course, like the UFC hasn't cut him yet, so obviously, they still think he's a good fighter, or at least still an entertaining fighter. Um, but man, like 5 losses by way of knockout, you feel me? Out of 7 losses, so I really think that's really the chin at this point. And I feel like, Sean Shelby and McMahon know what they're doing, trying to get Mauricio a dynamic finish here in Brazil. You feel me? Like we saw him get knocked out by Nigrat Hasparas. Before that, he won by decision over John McDessie. McDessie doesn't really have the punching power needed to really get a finish at this level, and at this later in the UFC. Of course, they say like the power is the last thing to go. But he couldn't knock out Jamie Malarkey, man. And then compared to the next fight, Nasrat, who does have decent power, a young prospect, coming up in the UFC, did knock him out in the first round at that, And then we saw Muhammad Naimov, he knocked him out, and that was just that was a crazy knockout too, because I'm pretty sure he was coming up from featherweight, and then he knocked him out up at lightweight. So that just really shows you that that I really do think the chin is really starting to go at this point. And even then, you can cut him some slack for getting knocked out by Jalen Turner. Of course, we know many people aren't high on Jalen Turner like that anymore after his loss to Renato Moicano, but we still know how good of a striker that Jalen Turner is. You feel me?
For sure.
And even then, when he was fighting on the regional scene, he got knocked out by Volkanovski. 100% understandable. 100% understandable. You feel me? And then he got knocked out by Luke Katabig. So I really feel like, man, especially at this later stage in his career, yeah, man, I think Mauricio is going to come out here and get a finish. I probably think it's going to be I think they're going to come out and bang with the crowd, with the energy. You feel me? And I think Mauricio can get a knockout in the first round. Out of 9 victories, all 9 wins are by way of knockout. You feel me? So this guy has a 100% finishing rate, and yeah, I think that's just tailor-made recipe for disaster. And I really think that he's gonna come out here and get a finish in the first round, and we're gonna see what happens, man. But how you feeling?
I got Mauricio by a first round knockout. So I just know Malarkey's gonna come out this one just banging. He's gonna look for a dog fight. And Mauricio Rufy, he's just a good counter striker. So he's not obviously in front of this Brazil crowd, he's going to put on a show, but he is very patient at the end of the day, and he's going to just time like a hook. It's going to be as simple as that. Malarkey's just going to come in too strong, get caught, and first round knockout sounds the coolest to me. So that's what I'm going to go with. Yeah, I think Malarkey's gonna want a war, just stand in the middle and bang with me all fight, and it's not gonna happen. I think Rufy's just a little smarter, and he'll still be entertaining, but he's just gonna be the better fighter here. Especially 9 wins by knockout is insane. That's
pretty crazy. Always gotta love those 100% finishing rates. You feel me? And I really feel like it's Malarkey. I think he has good kicks. He always has that good crane kick that he comes out. When he's sitting at a distance. He still has decent boxing, has a good overhand, right? But I just think, with all that being said, if they do start to exchange, I think the guy with the worser chin's gonna get knocked out. So we're gonna see how it goes. But all shout outs to Jamie Malarkey. Still love watching him fight. Didn't say nothing bad about him. Still think he's a decent striker. All of that. I just think in a fight with 2 strikers. Yeah, man. The guy with the worst chin's probably gonna get knocked out, bro. So we're gonna see how it goes. Man, of course, anything can happen in a fight. And there's some people out there definitely taking Malarkey with the plus money. You feel me? So, but we're gonna see how it plays out, though. You feel me? Going into this next one, I think this next one could also have a knockout. Yeah, man. Carlos versus Joaquin Silva. And even by saying this one's gonna have a knockout too, we said at the beginning, this card's definitely better than some people think it is on paper. But yeah, man, going with my victory in this fight, I was gonna go with Jakar Close, man. I think that he's gonna come out here, be really aggressive. He's on a great streak right now. We saw when he just blasted Joe Selecki like that with that slam. He beat Rafa Garcia, and I think Rafa Garcia is a really good fighter. Even in his shorter stature at lightweight, I think Garcia is a great fighter. And of course, he knocked out Brandon Jenkins. Can't take too much away from that, but he did what he was supposed to do over a fighter. Around Brandon Jenkins' level, and he knocked him out. You feel me? And I think he can do the same here. I think with Joaquin Silva, we saw him versus Arman Sarukian. Of course, we saw him wobble Arman just a tad bit in that fight, and like that blew everyone's mind. Like that is was one of the biggest talking points on MMA Twitter for like a week. It was pretty funny. But of course, like he's a good fighter himself. I know his nickname is Neto BJJ, but we don't really see him use jiu-jitsu a lot or really come out and strike. Has good power. I do honestly think he does. Good boxing as well. The way he'll go to the body sometimes. And I just think with this fight, man, both these guys are around the same age, like 35, 36. I just think that Drakkar Klose is just a little bit more athletic with the wrestling. Good takedown defense, good power. We saw him almost knock out Beneil Dariush, of course, in one of the bangers of 2019. And that could have gone his way too. That could have had his career on a whole different trajectory. But yeah, man, I think Drakkar Klose is honestly the better fighter in this matchup. Like I said, more athletic. And I think if they exchange, I think he can get a knockout. I don't know if I set the round, but I think maybe like a third round TKO. I think it'd be like, yeah. Third round TKO. I think they're gonna exchange for the first 2 rounds. We saw Joaquin Silva, go against Arman like that, and he got finished in the 3rd round. So I think if he can survive 3 rounds with Arman Sarukian, I definitely think he could survive 3 rounds with Drakkar Klose. But I just think like it was probably going to end around the same way, getting finished in the 3rd round. I think it's going to be a war the first 2 rounds. And he's fighting in Brazil at home himself, so he's going to have all that energy behind him with the crowd and his family, all that being said. I still think that Drakkar Klose is going to come out here, get a 3rd round TKO in a banger. It's going to be a real close fight.
I'm also taking Drakkar Klose for a knockout on this one. I think he could imitate what Clay Guida did in his last fight. Early in the beginning of the fight, he had Silva just on his back feet backing up. And Drakkar Klose is going to look for a dog fight, so he's going to hunt him all fight. If he does get caught, he's going to do that thing where he looks really hurt and wobbles a lot. One that makes him even harder to hit somehow when you're wobbling like that. But obviously it's him being hurt a little bit. So it'll be a competitive fight, striking, because Silva's going to stand and bang with him. But I think Klose will knock him out in this one. I think it'll be earlier in this fight. I'm going to disagree with you for the later. I think it'll be earlier. I'm
okay.
Under the halfway through the fight. But yeah, definitely for a knockout. I got Drakkar Klose winning this one.
Got you. Sounds good, bro. Most stuff. And yeah, man, this next fight, this has been like since it was announced. I think it was announced like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, something like that. The moment it was, everyone had this marked on their calendars, to see this crazy matchup play out. Extremely dynamic matchup. I know people were trying to classify it as striker versus grappler, but both of these guys can do both of those things, in my opinion. Close fight, man. Yeah, man, for me, I was gonna go with the Kyrgyzstanian Miktabek Orobai. I just think he's a great fighter. The dude he lost to, Khalid Saduev, is still undefeated to this day. And like he was an undefeated Russian, you feel me? So, and he lost via decision. Of course, that was some years ago. I think if they ran that back, it might be a different result. And we saw that after that fight, something changed in him. Like it was just, like I don't know if I watch anime, but like, it was like an awakening, you could say. Like it was pretty cool, man, to see him really take off the way he did. All these finishes, ground and pound, right cross, right across the ground strikes, there's multiple finishes from Miktabek Orobai, but he also has great wrestling too, even how and I know it's not the best competition with Farkhu Kadyrov, that was his debut. It's just the way he choked him out in the first round at WEF Selection 22. It was really just a beautiful victory, the way he got that finish. And I really think the way that he just approaches the fight, he's really very, very cerebral fighter, the way he'll approach the takedowns. He'll use the striking to set up the takedowns as well. And I do think that just with this fight, with a guy like Elvis Brenner, who's going to match his pace, match his intensity, I think that Miktabek is going to be tested. Elvis Brenner is a great striker himself. We saw him get the finish over Guram Kutataladze. A lot of people want to try to gatekeep the win, because Guram took that on short notice, I believe, but a win is a win. You feel me? And I think Guram really wanted to get back in the cage because he kept getting stifled by inactivity. Um, so I really think that was a good win by Elvis Brenner. You feel me? And after that, he knocked out Kanan, and that was a beautiful finish. With the overhand left. And even then, like, he just looked really good on the regional scene, man. Like, I know he had took some losses, but it's a part of the martial arts journey. And most of the time, he's finishing dudes, especially in the early part of his career. So that really just shows that his killer instinct in the fights, his good skill set. He can knock you out. He can submit you. And like also, he trains with the future Hall of Famer, Charles Oliveira. Comes from a great camp. Diego Lima, Shoot the Box, all those boys. It's a great fight, man. The blonde Brenner is definitely a very dangerous fighter. You feel me? But I was gonna go with Miktybek Orbai in this fight. I was gonna go win via decision. I think it's gonna be a really good fight. One of the best fights on the card tonight. They're gonna exchange on the feet, exchange on the ground with the grappling. I think that Miktybek's gonna get some control time here and there, as Elvis tries to work some magic off his back. Try to get a triangle, or maybe like get a sweep, get back on top himself. I just think they're both going to be prepared for anywhere the fight goes, but I think that Miktybek's going to have a little bit more control time. And I think if he does face any adversity on the feet at all, he will definitely try to get those takedowns over anything else. And I think it's going to be a great fight, man. I'm really excited for it. Can go either way, in my opinion. And yeah, man, I was going to go with Miktybek. Mikty, how you feeling?
I'm taking Elvis Brenner in this one. I got him winning by decision. I think the main thing for him is he got to be able to stuff those takedowns.
Right.
He's got to be able to stay on the feet. I know he could survive on the ground, but he's got to be able to stay on the feet. The thing I like about Brenner is his first fight was his debut in the UFC. A lot of people were saying that they didn't like the decision there, and it was a split decision, and they thought he lost that one.
Right,
Fast forward to his next two fights, he gets two finishes and two just beat downs. Like, everyone started to respect him now after those two fights, and he's a good fighter. One of my favorite young prospect guys. Like you said, from Shootbox, very good fighter, striker, can fight on the ground. I like him in this one. Like I said, if he can stuff the takedowns, at least a few of them, so he's not just getting every time Orabal is shooting for the takedowns, he's not going down. I think it'll be very beneficial in the decision, because I do think this one goes to a decision. I do think these guys both have a lot of grit in them to survive 15 minutes against each other. I think this is a potential fight of the night, or performances of the night going out. Something's going to be here, though. This is a very good prelim fight. I'm taking Brenner here by a decision. He's at plus 550 for a decision. So.
Yeah, nah, man. I think it's gonna be literally top 3 fights on the card, and it's not even on the main card. You feel me? If one of the fights, knock on wood, I mean, it's fight day. It's not gonna happen. God forbid some illness or something. If one of the fights on the main card fell out, I think this would be the main pick to bounce up to the pay-per-view. I think this is gonna be an absolute crazy fight. Might even have some people on the MMA Twitter will feel me, and this might have a little bit of aura around the matchup. I definitely think it's gonna just be like that when they make the walk. Hardcore fans know what's about to happen when they step into the cage. And I'm extremely excited for it. You feel me? But moving up a little further up the card as we near the pay-per-view. Got Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Yasmin Lucindo. Yeah, man. I was going to go with Yasmin in this fight, man. I was going to go with Lucindo. I think Karolina Kowalkiewicz, it's her longest win streak in her UFC career, I believe. And at the age of 38, that's absolutely remarkable. She lost 5 in a row at one point. And for her to bounce back like this, never give up on her dream, it's absolutely remarkable. For her to do this at the age of 38, I will say again. So for her to do something like that, I can't help but respect it and admire that. I just think, Yasmin Lucindo has more upside. And just a better current skill set than any of the fighters she's faced in their last 4 fights. I really think that Yasmin Lucindo can come out here extremely aggressive. She fights like that in the Apex with silence. So when she's fighting in a sold-out arena, in our home country. I definitely think she's gonna come out there and bang, especially knowing her personality, the way she'll dance to the octagon. Just really like be free in there. I love watching her fight. She's a really cool girl. And I think I think she will be around for a while. We saw when she fought Yasmin Howard. Just the skill set she showed at a really young age in that fight, and I think she's only gonna get better fight by fight each and every year as she steps into the cage. I think they're gonna keep her around for a while, just based on her age alone. I think they can market her really well too, and who knows, man, they could be a future champion one day. Like if I get it, she has 5 losses, but it's okay, because she was fighting. She was like 14 years old. That's absolutely insane. At 14, she's damn near still a child, and she's fighting grown women at that point. So a lot of those losses, it is a part of her being a kid, and fighting older people. So I think this fight it will be a little bit more competitive than people think it's gonna be. But I was gonna go with Yasmin Lucindo by a decision. I just think she'll be way faster than Carolina. Be really aggressive, trying to walk her down. Carolina could hurt her and gain her respect. But I think Yasmin has no problem striking at all. She really believes in her stand up. And I really think she's going to come out here, be really aggressive. She has good combinations, good leg kicks too, good body kicks as well. And I think it's going to be a good fight, man. But I think that Yasmin's going to just walk her down and post her game plan and just take it just off like the damage and the octagon control. And yeah, man, I was going to go with Yasmin Lucindo by a decision.
All right, so in this one, I'm taking Carolina in this one.
Oh, word.
I just think that 4-fight win streak is going to do her a lot of justice with motivation going into this fight. And it's a big age gap difference, but not like 40 versus like prime 28, 29. She's 22. Yasmin's very young. It's not often you see fighters are fully developed that young. Like sometimes you do. You got like a John Jones or like a Muhammad Makayev, dudes who are developed that young. But then
I would say in her case, I'm so sorry to cut you. It's just one thing. I was gonna say this one thing, like in her case, like I do think she has a lot of experience, having 20 fights, at 22. That's just really for her exclusively though, because like I said, she was fighting like super young. But now you're right though. When you meet fighters like they have that kind of like
this kind of experience. That's fought Zhao Yan and Alexa Grasso, and like all these girls. She's fought like some of the best. She's missed obviously the best, but she's fought some of the best. And with that kind of spread, I mean, the other day she was at plus 275. Now she's at plus 310. It's getting even wider. Her at a decision is plus 450. I really think that's a moneymaker right there. And then just like stat wise, she's Carolina has a way higher striking output. She has a 74% takedown defense, so not bad, not the best, but not bad. She definitely can stuff some takedowns if they come. I think Yasmin should try and take her down if she can. That would be very beneficial if she wants to win. But I like Carolina in this one.
Nah, for sure, man. It's gonna be a great fight. I don't think that her striking technique has diminished in any way or fashion. It's just a matter of like the veteran versus the bright prospect in this one, and we're gonna see how it goes, man. You never know what's gonna happen in a fight. Definitely gonna be an entertaining one for sure, and I'm excited for it for sure, yo. Most definitely. And yeah, man. Moving on up the card. Yeah, bruh. Feature prelim. It's a banger in my opinion. Really, really, really good fight. Great fight. You feel me? Really extremely high level. Both these guys can strike. Both these guys can grapple. For my pick in the fight, man, I was gonna go with Joanderson Brito. In the matchup, man. I think that's Jack Shore. Like it's really crazy, man. Like I remember back in like 2021, and like 20, like and all that before he lost to Ricky Simone. He had so much hype. I remember like watching a fight where like Michael Bisping was commentating, and Michael Bisping was like comparing his skill set, like his skill set technique to like, and this is Michael Bisping, y'all, not me. You feel me? But he was saying like, he was comparing him to George St. Pierre, like GSP, the way he would strike in the cage, but also he can really wrestle too. Like he can really strike, really wrestle. It's just he wouldn't have much power generated on the strikes, and but I do think he's a good grappler. I do think he has good takedowns. Jack Shore does, but I think that it's more of a physicality issue for Jack Shore. I think when he got out muscled by Ricky Simone like that, that was just he really showed what happened when he faced someone that has the same level of athleticism, if not more. And Ricky Simone was able to stifle the takedowns, really apply the pressure with the grappling, and get a beautiful triangle choke over Jack Short. And like he took his just like that out of nowhere, you feel me? And just like that, you have a 1 on your record, and like you got to keep going, you feel me? And he looked good in the next fight, you feel me? But at the same time, I do think that Joe Anderson Brito is gonna offer a little bit more problems than Marquand Americani. You feel me? We know Americani. If you actually check his topology himself, right there, it's pretty unfortunate too. That's a fire picture first and foremost. Yeah, like, I cannot hate. Legendary picture. Always, shout out to Marquand Americani. But he's coming off 3 losses. And he actually fights in next month. You feel me? And Octagon 58. If you know much Octagon, so definitely watch the card and support Americani. He's still fighting outside the UFC, so that shows you that he just loves fighting. Period. Most guys retire when they leave the biggest organization in the sport. You feel me? So the fact he's still fighting, especially at 35 years old, he definitely just loves being a martial artist. So all that being said, I just think that Joe Anderson Brito is going to have the physicality in this fight. I think he's going to hit harder in the exchanges. He's a good grappler himself. He can really do it all. You feel me? When he knocked out Andre Feeling like that just like, man, like that was just crazy. You feel me? And I know that Dan Ige would go on to knock out Feely as well. But I was thinking the fashion that he knocked him out, especially coming off the Bill Algeo loss, that really showed just like he really came out there with a point to prove. Like that was emotion in that knockout coming off of a loss like that, especially a decision loss. You have to watch that back 3 rounds of you losing a fight, and he came out and he looked good, man. And then it's in a 4-fight win streak. Of course, the Weston Wilson win, you can't run too much away from. But the Jonathan Pierce one, I thought was a great win the way he finished him like that. The bigger featherweight on the JSP is like 6 foot, while Joe Anderson's 5'8". And I love seeing shorter guys be able to like nullify height advantages, with the grappling and stuff like that. Like it's really cool. And it was a ninja choke at that. So those are really rare. But yeah, I was gonna go with Joe Anderson. I don't know if he'll knock out Jack Shore, bro. Like, I might go like a 3rd round submission, maybe. For Joe Anderson Brito, I might go like a 3rd round submission, man. I might 3rd round sub. I don't know if he's gonna knock out Jack Shore, bro. I think it might be like a crazy fight, but he's gonna dig deep and like he might like snatch up a neck and like maybe like get a sub and do it like that. I mean, Jack Shore's the better technical striker, but I think that Joe Anderson Brito, he's still very technical himself. And like he has power in every strike that he throws, you feel me? So it can be only a matter of time until he hurts Jack. He is gonna land a punch in this fight. They're 2 high-level fighters. But we're gonna see how it goes, man. I do think it's a close fight. You can't count out Jack Shore. Like I said, he was just being talked about in such a crazy way just a couple years ago, So I still think that's in him. But I think Joe Anderson can win the fight either way, anywhere the fight goes, striking, submission, or decision. But I was gonna go by a 3rd round sub for Joe Anderson Brito. How you feeling?
I'm taking Joe Anderson Brito on this one. I'm also taking him by a submission. Like we were talking about right before that we started, we were just talking to each other that Joe Anderson's coming down from 55 and Jack Shore's coming up from 35. So it's just like I'm very big on like if they're fighting in the weight class, then that's their weight class. But like if you looked at the weigh-ins yesterday, it's nice that we're doing this after the weigh-ins, but like
Right.
if you looked at the weigh-ins, there's a very big difference in their body frames, and Joe Anderson's really ripped and like big. They just look a little different is the only thing. If once he gets him down, he's just going to take control of Jack Shore in this one. If Jack Shore can pull this one out, though, I think there's no need to like question if 145 is a good division for him. Like if he wins this one, he's in, he's there to fight. but I'm taking Joe Anderson Brito in this one. And we got Paul in the chat. Paul, how you doing? We're just breaking down this card, getting ready to watch it in like an hour. How you doing, my guy?
Thanks so much for joining us, Paulie. Always love having you, bro. Great guy, great guy Paul is, man. Always popping on in the chat. Always just giving positive messages, man. And thanks so much again for joining us, Paul. Feel free to add more comments, bro, and ask any questions you want, bro. And yeah, man, like moving on to the pay-per-view, but also we did want to say one thing too, like how you mentioned the weigh-ins. We do know that the William Gomi fight versus Gene Silva was on this card, y'all. And we just want to give a shout out to William Gomi. He looked really bad coming off the scale. It was really scary, man. You can make the weight so many times, bro, and like look fine, get off, fight the next day. And there could be times where you try to make it and like it just be terrible, and we know there's a video circulating the internet, Twitter, of Elvis Brenner having a really, really, really rough weight cut. And like it's crazy because a lot of people are trying to, make fun of Elvis Brenner for that, and they try to roast him, like, unless you've gone through that process before, trying to cut that kind of weight. Like so many people, you gotta realize, bro, like, these guys gotta like say like Brenner, he's 155, right? Say he walks around like 180, like 175, something like that. Even if like you get the fight notice in like 6 weeks, you know how many people that can't lose 25 pounds in like 6 months, let alone 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's crazy, having to cut weight at that drastic. Like no other sport requires that. Like basketball, unless you're playing for the Miami Heat, because like they literally have like a percentage rule where y'all can't be over a certain body weight percentage. They're like Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. They actually have a rule for that. But unless you're playing for the Miami Heat in the NBA, you're not gonna really see. Of course, man, you gotta be in shape for every sport, but you don't see these other dudes having to drop 30 pounds in 7-8 weeks or stuff like that. Like, you don't normally see that.
These fighters wouldn't say they're practically killing themselves cutting weight. They wouldn't just say that as like a metaphor. Like they mean it. Like you've seen it. Like how many? Like look at Conor before. I forget which fight it was. Doesn't look like Conor McGregor in that way, and we see it all the time. Volkanovski, you see how just like it's just bone. You just see the skeleton of a skull.
Mm-hmm. Max Holloway too.
Like, and it's with so many fighters, and people just like to because we're watching from couches with a bag of chips in our hand and we order some Domino's. It's real easy to talk shit, but it's like something you shouldn't be talking shit about it because you don't have to experience it. Go sit in a sauna for an hour and you're going to be like crying about it. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not our place to talk. This dude, Gomes, he almost made it out there at the weight and he threw up and he probably would have made weight, but he threw up and he was 3 pounds under, right? Yeah, 3 pounds under. No one shows up under. You don't overcut weight. So no one knew why until we found out that it was because he threw up. But it's sad. Trained really hard.
Really hard, man.
Paid all his coaches for everything and all this, and now he can't. Now that money has to come out of his pocket. I'm assuming that I don't think Dana's just going to cover that for him. So it's sad, and yeah, there's like a big thing about like weight cutting. Like a lot of people say you should fight at the weight class you're at. So like if you're at 170 pounds, you're fighting at welterweight. If you're around 180 pounds, you move up to middleweight, or you come you know what I mean. But there is a discussion to be had. Like should there be a different method where fighters are weighing in around the month and there's like an average, and then you have to meet the weight so they're not killing themselves over this. I don't think there's anything we see soon, but maybe in the future, we could see something. Maybe a few years from now, maybe a decade from now, we could see something, because this isn't healthy. A lot of fighters don't fight at their full potential, and it sucks. Even Islam, he beat Volk, and he said he wasn't at his full potential. So just think about stuff like that. But yeah, we can move on to the main event, main card.
And yeah, we just wanted to take these 2 seconds, Sean, because this was one of the best fights on the card, and it's unfortunate that we lost it, but of course, got to put health first. This fighting they do for a living, but but still, they got families, they definitely got to put them bodies first, and just wishing him a safe recovery, man. He has to fly back to Paris now, I'm pretty sure getting on a plane after cutting weight like that and just like, oh man, I really
Yeah, probably
like
suck.
I
At least you
suck,
could get
bro.
some food in the system, though. That's all that really matters.
Like for real, nah. Like I agree. And again, shout out to hopefully they just rebook the fight. I would like to see them still matched up. We know that it's about to be the. I don't think they'd wait that long, but we know at this point they go to Paris every September. And what William Gomi has fought on UFC Paris, and I think that would be a great main card fight. For that card, but of course, I don't think they're gonna. These guys are trying to get paid, especially now. I don't think they're gonna wait till September, but I think it'd be cool if they had this fight on there. But yeah, also want to shout out to my man Paul again.
Let's do
Um,
it. Let's do
for
it.
sure, absolutely, bro, absolutely, man. Like, yeah, we would love to have you on here. We would do it for sure, bro, 1000%. We'd love to have you on here talking about 304. That'd be your pay per view, of course. That's coming to your side of town. So we'd definitely love to have you on here. Paulie's not really feeling this card tonight. Yeah, we think we said it's definitely has some better fights on that people are giving credit for. Not saying that Paul's wrong, because it's not like UFC 302 definitely beats this. 302 is like a solid like 8.5, like a 9 on paper, especially with the storylines that UFC 302 has. So like you could definitely say 302 is a better one for sure. But I think any card coming after UFC 300 was going to be fucked, and I still think it's definitely a banger fight. I mean, a banger card, and especially with the pay per view that we're about to break down. And y'all know what that means. Thank y'all so much again for joining us as we hit the second stage of the podcast. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate y'all having here. And just yeah, man, it's a great card. And my man Paul just commented again, saying that like, yeah, I get it, I get it for sure. And I'm pretty sure 2 of those fights are probably on the main card itself. Well, nah, because I'm pretty sure you want to see that Orobai versus Brenner fight, too. So that's definitely a crazy fight. That's like it's like how we mentioned before you came in. That could be on the pay per view. We feel like Paul, so. Yeah, man. But speaking of the pay per view, first fight of the night, we're going with Paul Craig versus Kyle Bahayo. Yeah, man. Like, I want to give a shout out to Paul Beardew Craig. It's really crazy. I've never seen the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson. That's where he goes like freedom. He gets his head cut off. And all that. I've never seen Braveheart, but I definitely want to get around and watching it sometime. But yeah, man. Like, I was going to go with Kyle Bahayo in this fight, man. I really think he's a great grappler, great wrestler. We know that Paul Craig is a great grappler as well. Great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he doesn't really have the wrestling to get it to the ground. We've seen Paul Craig pull guard. We've seen him try to, like do whatever it takes to get the fight to the ground. But he can't really do like a proper blast double to really like get him to the cage and drag him down or like blast double him out in the open and try to get the side control. If Paul Craig was able to do that, I think he would have been able to stay at light heavyweight and wrestle some of those guys to the ground and like submit most of those guys. We know he has submission wins over Jamal Hill and Magomed Ankalaev. So that lets you know how good his jiu-jitsu game really is, of course. But I think that Bahayo is going to be prepared for that. Bahayo has great ground control. Some people think Bahayo is not the most entertaining fighter, but I think he really just needs like that right piece of competition to really like test him. And I think he's going to come out here, be aware of Paul Craig's main way to win the fight, and I think he might come out here and strike with him. Honestly, I think he might come out here, get some leg kicks, get some body kicks. We've seen Paul Craig finish before. We know how Johnny Walker finished him. Of course, I think Johnny Walker has more devastating striking than Bahayo, but I just think like he could just piece him up, man. I might honestly have Bahayo winning by decision. I might have him by decision, man. I think he's gonna come out like if he does get Paul Craig to the ground, he probably won't stay there for too long. I mean, depending on how it's going, like if he's maintaining good control on the side control or the half guard, I definitely think he's gonna play it safe for the rest of the round. Just get the win. Like we know he's undefeated inside the UFC. Could extend that record to like 6-0. I think he'd be. But I think that he really can get the victory, man. I think Paul Craig, like at 36 years old, going down a division, like he's not getting faster. You're not gonna get any stronger. If you're watching him betted, he's in great shape for this fight. He is. They've been looking pretty ripped, especially at the lower weight class. I mean, he definitely cut some fat off, but I think that also it's draining him as well, and maybe being a detriment to his performance in the octagon. The new weight cut is. So I was definitely gonna go with Kyle Bahayo by decision in this fight.
I'm taking Kyle by knockout in this one.
Damn.
But,
Yeah.
like I said to you
Mhm.
earlier, Paul Craig is at sub plus 1,000, and if he's gonna win this fight, it's gonna be at a sub. I feel like that's a crazy moneymaker, and if I had some extra money to blow, I would put Paul Craig by submission and lock that in by itself, because that could make you a good amount of money if you have some extra to spare. But Kyo's just gonna he has better striking. He can match the jiu-jitsu. I think he's just overall the better fighter, and I don't like to knock Paul Craig because he has some impressive wins, but
Great
he's
win.
also getting choked out by Brandon Allen, and that's not a knock like saying Brandon Allen's bad, but he's losing to Brandon Allen. He lost to Johnny Walker. So it's just he's an up and down fighter. It's really hard to rank him somewhere or to match make him because you don't know who he's better than, who he's not better than. It really comes down to what we say, anyone can win any time, and that's more with him. He can win at any time, but I wouldn't put him above a lot of people to win. I'm going to take Kyle in this one by a knockout. I just think he's just the better striker, and if it does end up on the ground, he's not a cone. Kyle's not a cone to Paul Craig. So that's pretty much what I got to say for this one. I'm taking Kyle, but if you got some extra money, bet it on Paul Craig sub. Because it can happen. He can ruin everyone's night in Brazil.
Right. Yeah, or Maruera, or however they say it, It's gonna be crazy, man. I love Paul Craig. It's pretty funny this dude put on Twitter. They said he'll come out, just when he paints his face at the ceremonial weigh-ins and he'll get in his opponent, super intense, you feel me? And he said he'll do all that just to go out there and pull guard.
Right. So there's not one Johnny Walker fight where Paul Craig fight where he needs to have face paint on.
And I get it, he does it for the Scotland, his Scottish heritage, and like we said, man, he's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. It's just a matter of striking being a little bit of an issue for him in this fight. And I got the decision win, but you got to be a knockout. So either way, we're gonna see how Paul comes out in this fight, man. Of course, all the best of luck, even though we're picking against him. Absolutely, nothing ever personal. Love watching all the fighters fight. And going into this next fight, yeah, man, I was gonna go with Michel Pereira in this fight. I just really think that he's really hitting a stride in his career right now. I think he realizes what he's capable of now, really achieving at this UFC level. Got the boy Fight Rum in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us, bro. If you ever want to hop on with us, you definitely can, Fire Realm. Even if you want to hop on right now, bro, you definitely could. Help us break down these last couple fights. You feel me? For sure, bro. Most stuff. And yeah, man, with Michel Pereira, I really think he's always had a good skill set. He's always been a great technical boxer. He's always been good jiu-jitsu practitioner himself. It was more so just about taking the fight serious. You feel me? He definitely should have won the Tristan Connolly fight, and the Diego Sanchez. I mean, that was DQ. That was really unfortunate. So he can have a stellar UFC record, and I know that people, and I know oh, dude, hell yeah, bro, you can definitely hop on anytime, bro. I'll send you a link right now. I think I sent you one earlier from a previous time he was texting, so you can definitely use that one, bro, for sure, bro. You can definitely hop in, and yeah, man. So I just really think with this, Michel Pereira, he could be damn near undefeated inside the UFC, And I was saying that I get it, he has 11 losses, you feel me? But I always say when a fighter take Yasmin Lucindo, how we said for earlier, for example, she was super young when she was taking all those fights, bro. So when you make it to the UFC, even if you have losses, you feel me? If you're undefeated inside the UFC, I see you as undefeated, period. Of course, if they're fighting someone, the opponent can go back and look at their regional scene fights to look at how they lost, to try to find a hole in their game. But I think if you're undefeated once you hit the UFC level, like undefeated, if you're like 9-0, 10-0, it's a Natalia Silva came in at like 12-5, and she's like about to be 20-5. Like that's crazy, you know. Like to really turn her record around like that. So and like Natalia Silva has looked amazing, and she's undefeated inside the UFC herself. She's really the prime example of what I was just talking about. Like you can really make it seem like you're undefeated. Period. You know, because you've hit such a new level since your last loss occurred. So like they can try to be like, oh, but they lost like in their previous, their previous fights. But this new UFC bred version of the fighter, like that's like a whole new person. Like I feel, it's like Charles Oliveira. It's just Charles had to do it in the UFC. He had to lose to Paul Felder to unlock something in his brain, and then he went on like an 11-fight win streak. You feel me? And like that's when like if it was 8 fights, and then those 3 fights it was Chandler, Dustin, and Justin. So yeah. Also, when I say what's up to my boy, MMA Fight Round. Always love having you in the chat. What's up, Ram? How you doing, bro? You good, dog?
What is up? What is up? MMAHOLICS. What's up, Antoine, Nikki? Shout out to you guys, man, breaking this card down. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead. Finish off.
No, you're good, man. Of course, bro. Always love having you here, bro. Absolutely. Yo, in case you guys don't know, of course y'all do know, this is MMA Fight Round. Great YouTuber, really nice guy too, man. Really consistent with the content. All his picks, he definitely be hit. It's hard to hit every time, but he hits most of the time, like most of our friends do. So I always love having you around, bro. And you weren't interrupting, bro. Of course, absolutely. And I was just saying, with this fight, I was making a point that Michel Pereira has just looked really good since coming in the UFC, and I know like some of those fights he didn't take serious like that. He definitely could have won. You feel me? He could be like damn near undefeated inside the UFC with like a crazy record. But even just moving in past that, like man, like it's really more so like I feel like he's really aware of what he can do now, in his career. Really just with this moment that he seized, taking it serious now. You can really see in the fights that he's taking it serious now. And with a win here, and I get it. Ihor Pottier is taking this on short notice. We know that Michel Pereira was supposed to fight Mahmoud Muradov before he pulled out, and there's a rumor going around that he got released because he really that's crazy. Because he dropped out of the fight. Damn, that's that's wild. But yeah, you can actually give your pick first in this fight. Who are you gonna go with, Fight Round?
Yeah, man, you said a lot of good points, man. Michel Pereira, he is taking the fighting a lot more seriously, in my opinion. He stopped all the crazy antics that was leading to him getting tired. I mean, he used to do backflips before the fight even started. So this guy, he was wild like that. And now I think he's a lot more composed in there. If you look at his record, this guy's got over 40 fights, hell of experience in there. I think now he's on that 7-fight win streak. He realizes that he can really see himself in the top 15 and becoming one of the top 15 best middleweights in the world right now. So I think for a guy like Michel Pereira, he's on the rise. He's more than deserving of that level of opponent, or at least someone just outside of the top 15, because he's very well rounded. We've seen him, his submission game, his striking game is obviously what's more lethal. But he got it done by submission in his last one against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. And obviously he used the striking to get to that submission. I know that. But that's what proves why he's so well-rounded. And that's why I think he's more than ready for a better opponent. And Ihor Pottier is just not that. Ihor Pottier is a guy, he's going to decision with Robert Briszczek. And Robert Briszczek was making his debut 2 amateurs, in my opinion. That's what it looked like. It looked like 2 amateurs in there going 3 rounds. And that is the type of fight that Pottier should stay in right now because of how green he is in his career. But I think taking on a guy like Michel Pereira at this point in your career is a tough task. And Michel Pereira is going to prove that today in a few hours, actually. Yeah, he's gonna prove that today, man. I'm picking Michel Pereira to get it done by finish. However way, I think he could get it done by like a club and sub or a knockout. I hope he gets it done by knockout because it'll be a lot more impressive and all that. But I think he gets it done under 2.5 is a good play, or Michel Pereira round 1 is a good play. That's what I'm thinking. How about you guys?
I think this one's got performance of the night written all over it. Someone's going to knock someone out, I think.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it'll be Michel Pereira. He has a really big frame for middleweight, and they were saying that when he was at welterweight, he had a big frame. So he's coming up to middleweight, and he's still a pretty big middleweight.
Exactly.
Like you guys said, you said it perfectly. He's the reason why he doesn't have an undefeated record or 100% finish rate at that. Like, he's his own worst enemy. Even in this fight, I think if this fight goes later, which I don't think it will, but if it was to go later, we'll see him gas out because these dudes are going to be swinging for the fences against each other. Ihor just had a performance of the night, or was it a fight of the night in his recent fights? So I'm taking Michel in this one. I think he'll knock him out probably in the second round. He's just, in my opinion, just like a well-rounded fighter, way better than Ihor.
Yeah.
And like you said, he should be fighting a kind of ranked contender soon. I would like to see him jump into the top 10, but obviously you got to do what you got to do. But depends how, what he does in this fight. If it's really impressive and there's someone around 9, 10, 8 maybe, and they need to fight, he's the perfect dude to throw at them.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep on this one. I was going to go with Michel Pereira as well by a first round knockout. Even then, because of course, we don't got to spend too much time left on it. But I was going to say, I really want to see how far he can go, man. I really think he could really do something because he has great technical everything. He has great boxing defense, how he can slip and then hit the body right after slipping the punch. And he's super athletic with his frame, man, really dynamic. He has a good gas tank when he focuses, and he has a good jiu-jitsu and great wrestling too, man. He's really physically strong, bro. So 30, bro, literally, and he came in at 26. There's people thinking there's people thinking he had lied on his birth certificate, thinking he was really 37 and all that. It was funny. Dan Hardy kept saying that. That was hilarious. But yeah, definitely. Obviously, I mean, we know this is for the Brazilian crowd. He's gonna come out here, get a dynamic finish, and really just set up the feature bout, which we can definitely talk about now. Anthony Smith versus Vitor Petrino. You feel me? You can give your pick first, Nikki. Go ahead, bro.
Let me go first. So first things first, I'll just say that I'm picking Vitor Petrino in this one, but I do not think Anthony Smith is a bad fighter because of that. He's just he's changed over the years. He's had great fights in the past where he was knocking dudes out, but now he's not that anymore. He's more of a technical fighter. And it's almost he wants it to go to a decision. He's not gonna take any chances, it feels like, and when he gets hurt, it's 2 hands in the front, you know what I mean? And Petrino's gonna catch him. I feel it's gonna be sad. I think it's gonna be a really bad knockout. And I don't want it to. That's not me saying I want it to and I want it to lose, but I think that's what's gonna happen. Petrino is a scary dude. He's coming off that win against Tyson Pedro, right? His last one. Yep. So
made him retire.
Yeah, man, and another dude who should be retiring. We talked about this on our gaming night that it would be nice to see Anthony Smith retire from the UFC after this one. I wouldn't mind seeing him still do grappling against younger dudes, but man, if he does win this one, good for him. But I got Petrino by knockout. It's at plus 115 odds. I think that's good money right there. What are you guys thinking?
You can go next, Firearm. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, dude, you said a lot of good points there. Just Anthony Smith, like you said, he's a shell of himself, man. He's a former shell of himself. I think he used to have that killer mentality, that I'm gonna get a finished mentality, like you were talking about, and he just doesn't show that in his fights anymore. And then to top it off, he's fighting in a weight class where he knows he's undersized in, because he knows he used to be at 185, and that is his true weight class. Anthony Smith, he was doing really good at middleweight. He never looked terrible at middleweight. So, but it was just age, not wanting to cut weight, and how serious you take your fighting, how serious you take fighting, because, he is on several podcasts. I just got off a podcast. I just got off a stream with Pick'em where Pick'em was telling me Smith is drinking every podcast with with his buddies. So I mean, Gilbert Burns, 37 years old, he doesn't drink at all. That's
At
how
all.
serious he takes his fighting. So it really comes down to your craft, how serious you are about your craft. And Anthony Smith, as the numbers getting up in age, he's taking it less and less serious. And Vitor Petrino, I mean, he's taking it even more serious every fight because this guy, he's 11-0. He's on the cusp of doing something really great, staying undefeated, going into the top 15 of light heavyweight. And
Mm-hmm.
he's a savage, man. Physically, he's one of the strongest dudes in this weight class. And I think he's had some underwhelming performances. Like in that last one, I thought it was a little underwhelming because of the simple fact that, I thought he could get a finish, but he has finishes. He has a knockout win over Modestas Bukauskas. He has an arm triangle choke over Marcin Prachnio. I mean, the dude he's well-rounded. He's got submissions, he's got knockouts, he's a physical specimen, and he's undefeated, 26 or 27 years old, something like that. I mean, bro, the odds are super stacked against Anthony Smith in this fight. If it wasn't like if even if this fight was in America, I think it's still like you gotta add that too. It's in Brazil.
Yeah.
Vitor Petrino is gonna get this one done. I hope he doesn't knock him out like you said, but I mean, I kind of do hope he knocks him out because that underwhelming performance that he had in his last one, people have been chirping too much about Petrino, and they think that he could lose this fight, and I don't see a way that Smith wins. I'm really trying to, but I don't. I think if he does, maybe he gets a whooping and then he just puts up with it. But how? How does he bounce back after that? I just don't think he can. So I'm going Petrino as well.
Yeah, nah, man. Like it's gonna be another clean sweep. I just think that with Anthony Smith, man, like I really think he's really just slowed down drastically in his last few fights. Even if you go back and watch the Glover Teixeira fight, his hands were ridiculously fast in those first 2 rounds. When he was fighting the Glover Teixeira like that, and like and like he even then when he submitted Devin Clark, like his transitions on the ground were like really fast. Even when he subbed Devin Clark like that, so. I just feel like, for Anthony, I really feel like his athleticism has really dropped down, man. And all those fights that he took at a young age really are starting to catch up with him. Even though he's only 35 at light heavyweight, still really young. If that's another fighter, like they got plenty of time left, to try to chase a belt or anything. Like Jan Blachowicz didn't win a belt till 2 years after the age of 35. So I just think with Anthony, like he's really just slowed down drastically. And I really think it's gonna like just in terms of the scrambles, because I think his best way to win this fight is try to get a takedown. I think if he tries to stand up, I think that like exchange for exchange, if Vitor's gonna have more power, blow for blow. I think his kicks are gonna hit, like his leg kicks are gonna hurt really hard for Anthony. We saw what Radkic was able to do to Smith with the leg kicks, and I think Petrino has good leg kicks himself. And I think he's gonna be just really aggressive, show him no respect, which could, be to Petrino's detriment. Smith comes out with a good jab and some takedown defense, he can win this fight. But I think that Petrino, I think he's not just all like beating potatoes like that, man. I think he's really been improving every single fight that he's been in, and I think he's really one of those undefeated guys right now. And I really think he can come because if he wins this fight, Smith's like number 11 right now. So if he beats Anthony, they might because they'll bump the fighter up. Yeah, like they might bump the fighter up sometimes, like, if it's a good performance. So if he wins, I think Petrino's going to walk out like number 8, number 9 ranked dude. And I feel like they're going to want to push him, because they can get him in a title shot early and he'd be young enough to be like, oh, man, he can just come back around, try to win the belt. And then that could be another time where he's older, more mature at 32, still really young for light heavyweight and try to get a belt. So I think Petrino's going to go really far in his career. It's just his athleticism. His power, most of his wins are by finish. Like it's like 10 out of the 11 wins are like by way of knockout. So I do think he could come out here and replicate the same game plan as Khalil Roundtree. And I think he come out here and get like a second round TKO, like a second round up against the cage, like hurt him really bad, keep Fleury in and just like get the finish. I don't know if they'll flatline him like Roundtree did, like really punch him down, like make his arms sprawl out, and like I don't know if that's gonna happen. I do think he get like a TKO over Smith, and I was gonna go Petrino by his second round TKO, and even then on out of the cage talk, like, man, I know Smith's not gonna want to retire, in all the recent interviews he's had, he still wants to fight Alex Pereira for the title, so he definitely still wants to chase the belt, and I don't blame him. Pereira's 1 year older than Smith. He's 36 years old, but it's like he has way less MMA fights. Like he has way less kickboxing fights because he's 33-7 in like the kickboxing record. And he's like what 10-2 now in MMA, so like that just shows you Smith Smith has like 56 fights, so like that's just like
challenge him to a grappling fight for 50K. So
I saw that
because we want to see. I feel like a lot of people want to see Alex grapple, and I mean it's perfect for Anthony Smith.
The
fun seat there,
Of course, and we just saw that. We saw how Pereira was grappling DC. And picking him up like a baby. Of course,
DC wasn't. Nah, you can't.
No.
I feel like people were that. DC wasn't ready. He wasn't in the right clothes. Alex caught him off guard. Alex knew what he was trying to do.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no, I was joking. If that's like, if that's a fight, like if that's like a prime DC versus,
DC is picking him up and throwing
like
him.
They're throwing him, like he did Alexander Gustafsson, who's also 6'5". So I definitely think that's what would happen. Of course, that fight's never gonna happen, unfortunately. But yeah, moving on though to the co-main event, we got the return, one of the greatest fighters, literally ever. And you can go first in this one fight, Rome. Go ahead, bro.
The King of Rio is back.
In Rio,
oh man, yeah, dude, and he's in Rio, man. Like you said, he's a legend. He's already a Hall of Famer. He has
literally
I don't know why he's coming back, but maybe I think there's talks about him having to fight out of his contract. Yeah. So I mean, that is kind of crazy that the UFC isn't letting him fight in America without fighting out of his contract. That's kind of fucked up, but it is what it is. Jose Aldo, he's back. He wanted to take on Dominic Cruz for this fight as well, but Dominic Cruz ended up not being able to show up. So Donovan Martinez gets the fight, and Jose Aldo, well-rounded, extremely good takedown defense. Rob wasn't even able to get him down.
Facts.
The striking has always been there. I just think wow, I mean, where's the weakness in this guy? It's really hard to find it. And it's because he's super well-rounded and he's already proven it time and time again. What I will say though is watching some fights back, like the Rob Font fight. Rob Font was having a lot of success in the boxing. He was having a lot of success in the boxing, but when it came down to power, once Jose Aldo was landing, you could tell the power difference because Rob Font was stunned by all of Jose Aldo's shots, and all the pitter patter didn't matter before that. Once Jose Aldo started to land in his during the round, so it won him that fight. But like I said, he did get caught a couple times, and that's maybe where you could see the age starting to catch up to him and things like that. But as far as trying to find a weakness for this guy, it's you're going to be looking forever. So Jose Aldo, he's extremely well-rounded, and he's taking on Martinez. Martinez, what I'll say is on a 6-fight win streak. It's really hard to speak bad about this guy on a 6-fight win streak. He's beating Nurmagomedov's out there. His takedown defense is really good. His striking is really good. Obviously, he's more leg kick heavy, leg kick heavy game plan, and that's what people are worried about going into this fight. I think I am as well. He is very well-rounded when he lets his hands go, and he should let the hands go a lot more in his fights because he's got good elbows in the clinch. But when he doesn't let the hands go and people just assume that, you can get a leg kick finish on anyone, I think it's going to be really hard to pull that off against the leg kick king, Jose Aldo, So it's been really hard to pick here, but I got to go Jonathan Martinez in this one. I do think that the coaches are preaching to the choir. I think we're all preaching to the choir. You got to do more than just leg kick in this fight, and I think Jonathan Martinez understands that. He's got to let the hands go. Like I said, he's got some vicious elbows. He's got the longer reach in this fight, I believe. So, and I don't think it's by much, but Jonathan Martinez is going to have to utilize the boxing, utilize the leg kicks. He is a southpaw, so that inside leg kick check is going to have to be there for Jose Aldo. Is it going to be there? For sure, I think it is. But how many of those are you going to check? How many of those are going to hold up? So I think Martinez gets it done. I'm leaning Martinez here simply because of age and layoff time for Jose Aldo.
Right.
But I cannot bet on Martinez. I got no bets on this fight whatsoever. I respect the King of Rio way too much. I actually think if you are betting, it's dog or pass. So I'm leaning Martinez, man.
You can go ahead, Nikki.
I think this fight really comes down to the IQ of both fighters. Because Aldo's last two fights, he's been boxing. And we known him as a kickboxer his whole career, but now he's just like straight up boxing, and that really improved his game, right? That could help him a lot in this fight. But obviously, he's going to have to kickbox with Jonathan Martinez in this fight, so he's going to have to go back to his old ways. Now, if he was just fighting anyone and he was boxing, I think they'd have a better chance at beating him. But if you're forcing Aldo to go back to his old ways, you're putting yourself in a dangerous position almost, right? Like, he's not going to be able to do what he did to Adrian Yanez and back him up against the corner of the cage and kick his leg 4 times till he falls to the ground. That's not going to happen. Aldo's like a defensive fighter. When you're looking at Aldo's career, I would just almost like knock out the Conor fight from your mind because he fought off of emotion there. Like, that's not what's going to happen. He's not going to run at you like that. That's just not going to happen. I like Aldo in this fight, I guess more because like he's a legend of the sport. He's coming back. This is his hometown. It makes sense for him to win in my head. I think it'll go to a decision. I don't see a finish. I think these dudes will just be kicking each other's legs all night and just standing up and banging. I think this will be a banger of a fight. It's hard though because you're gonna get out of Aldo.
It's hard.
It's hard, bro.
He got inducted to the Hall of Fame. We thought he was done. Now he's back in Rio. Feels more like he's there for the fans. We were talking about this a little while ago, that it might just be him here for the fans. And Martinez isn't a bad fighter. It's like a really tough fight for Aldo at this point in his career.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm picking off of more of emotion, picking Aldo, but that's what's going to happen. So it's your turn, Antoine. What you got?
Man, both y'all get really good breakdowns, bro. Like, it's just a really close fight, man. Like, yesterday when I was checking typology and I was like putting like, when you're putting picks in, stuff like that, and like you scroll down and you look at the votes, like it was at 1,000 votes at the time, and the percentages were 50-50. Like, literally, after, you gotta realize, like, that's 1,000 people from all over the world that are making a pick, and even then it's still 500 this way, 500 that way, So like that really lets you know, like, I know everyone can always find, this fight's close, this fight, like, this is no exaggeration, like an extremely close fight. It's just based on, like, I said this fight's gonna be a test of wills. Like, I don't know if I watched the countdown or whatever, but like, Jonathan Martinez doesn't really like, and like, rightfully so, he has every right not to like really divulge the information about his life like that, But on the countdown, he had said, like, he got his girl pregnant in like 14 or whatever, and like he had a baby like 15. And he said he had moved out of his house at 15. Like, he never went back or whatever. And just like, and you got to realize, man, it's like to move out and like with a baby where you start fighting, bro. You got to like, what calling am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do that I really like to like change my family's life? Like, what can you start like you start fighting. Fighting's already like a poor man's sport, bro. So when you're fighting, like, man, and his girlfriend had to work 2 jobs for 4 years while he trained full time. He had no job, just relying on his girl going back and forth. And they already had a kid. You feel me? So
Yeah.
that's them like just having to like wait, like hoping he makes it, and like you make it, bro. And like I only mention all this because I say he doesn't talk like that. So when I heard the story, like and and you can see how he was talking on the countdown, like the conviction he had, like that was probably a really hard time in his life having to go through that at that young age or whatever. And you can just tell, man, like it's just like the mindset, man. Like I gained a lot of respect for that dude. Like that was like some, some like excuse my language, but that was like some real shit, like just to like be able to go do something like that and really have to like, take control of your life and not let life control you like that, and not get so swept up in how hard the times can be, and you just keep persevering forward, And I say a test of wills because he has all that going on, still fighting for his family, fighting for his son now and all that, and Aldo just being like like you're the king of a city like that, really like having all his fan base here, like all the memories he's had here, winning all the fights he's won here, and like it's just gonna be a lot, like it's a lot, like up to like Wills really pushing on each other like that, but. It's a close one, man. Just how y'all both picked two different people lets you know like how close it is. It's already 1-1 on the podcast. So damn, man. For me, shit, man. Like this is cause it. Yeah, for real, it's a close one, man. Jesus Christ. Man, man. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Martinez, bro. Only because like the age and the layoff. That's it. Only because the age and the layoff. Like I know,
You
like
and me both.
I know, like it's only because the age and the layoff. Like that's it, man. Because I know, like it was 2 years ago. You feel me? But the MMA speed is different compared to Jonathan Martinez, like who's hungry as shit right now. Coming off a 6-5 win streak, and he knows exactly who he's fighting. So it's like. It's like compared to someone who's won the belt twice, and like he fought for the belt at bantamweight, and like and like he's coming out to fight out the contract, but of course he's not the kind of person where he's just gonna come out and like let someone get their name on his resume like that. Like, damn, man, this is close, bro. It's just like really close, bro. Like it's just the age and the layoff. Like that's it. We know if they're both 30 years old, we know who everyone's picking in this fight. Obviously, you feel me? Even at 37, Aldo is still good. He stuffed all of Martinez's takedowns. And just but yeah, y'all. We can go ahead and move on to the main event. Of course, y'all. It's 6:10 p.m. right now, so. It's fight time now, baby. We're gonna see how all this talking goes, But yeah, y'all. Main event of Ultimate Fighting Championship 301. You can go first, Nikki. Go ahead, bro.
All right. So since the fights have started, I'm gonna keep mine short and simple. But I'm taking Pantoja in this one for sure. I would love to see him get a submission because he hasn't got one in a while, and I don't want to really follow the logic. He hasn't got one in a while, so he can't. I think he can submit Steve Erceg. We keep talking about it all comes down to how Erceg stuffs the takedowns, and that's like the key factor of this whole fight. I think Erceg's gonna land his fair share of strikes. The regular Pantoja looking very tired and drained and hurt is gonna be there at some point in the fight. I think this one will go the decision. And even if he stuffs the takedowns perfectly, I think Pantoja can stand and bang with him. Like Pantoja is gonna get what he does in his fights is like if Erceg throws 2 punches, Pantoja is gonna throw a jab in there in the middle of it, and he's gonna get you. He hurts like he cut Moreno, I think, in the end of the first round, right?
He dropped him.
He's a good striker. I think Pantoja is the best flyweight in the world right now. We were saying this earlier. A few more title defenses, and he'll probably be second. Probably never be able to pass Davison Figueiredo, but I think he could easily be the second greatest ever. Yeah. Wait, what did I say? Did I say Figueiredo?
Yeah.
Bro, in my head, I don't know why I keep doing. Bro. Demetrius Johnson, bro. My bad.
2 Ds. It's all good. 2 Ds.
I'll end it with that. Alexandra Pantoja. Bro, I can't speak right now. Pantoja by decision. Lock it in.
No, you're good, man. I feel you, man. It's a beautiful pick, bro. How you feeling, fight round? Your special guest, man. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
man. Pantoja by decision. That's not a bad pick, man. I'm actually with you though. Pantoja. I'm taking Pantoja to get this one done, or by submission. I think is a good play as well. Those are the two most likely outcomes for Pantoja to get it done. I don't see him
Mm-hmm.
knocking out Steve Erceg, that's for sure. I think Erceg's chin, it has been tested before. Alessandro Costa was able to get a knockdown on him, and he got a takedown on him, though. He got a takedown on Erceg. Erceg did find his way back up, but I also remember to the David Dvorak fight. David
Mm-hmm.
Dvorak in the third round, when he was already tired, he gets a takedown on Steve Erceg, and he starts working some control time on Steve Erceg himself. So we're talking about, two guys who don't meet Pantoja's ground game whatsoever. I don't think
At
Alessandro
all.
Costa's resume or David Dvorak resumes add up to the ground game of Pantoja whatsoever, dude. So Pantoja's ground game is savagery, dude. This guy, 15 minutes of control time over Brandon Royval. He got 8 takedowns. And we got to remember, Brandon Royval's got 9 submission wins under his belt. So, he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
worried. He wasn't worried at all about Brandon Royval's submission game. Steve Erceg, he's got 6 submission wins. He's been much less proven. I got to go Pantoja here. I think
Mm-hmm.
too soon for Steve Erceg. If he does get it done, will I be shocked? A little bit, but I won't say I will be shocked like a lot. I'm not. This isn't going to be like a blown away performance if Steve Erceg gets it done. We are all familiar that flyweight, that belt just doesn't happen to stay anywhere too long. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, man. For me personally, I just think, man, like I kind of just can't go against Alexandre Pantoja, bro. I think he has a lot of experience, man. Like, his record is 20, he has 27-5 record. He's on a great win streak right now with a lot of momentum. He has a great chin. Like, the only thing is just the optics of his fights. I think that's why he cut his hair. He didn't want his hair to be flowing back off this subtle punch. And I feel like that was one of the reasons why he cut his hair shorter. He's a great wrestler too. He has great jiu-jitsu, but he also has a great rest. He has great wrestling. He has great double leg takedowns, great single leg takedowns. Like, he can also chain the wrestling together the way, like, he'll be so
yeah,
exhausted, but he'll just keep going, keep driving to the fence, like keep pulling the fighter down, and like how he did with Brandon Royval. I do think that Steve Erceg has better takedown defense than Brandon Royval. Um, I don't think there's any flyweight out there who's a better grappler, especially jujitsu wise than Pantoja. I think he can make the case. He's like, the greatest grappling flyweight jujitsu wise, like, of all time, especially after winning, like, has 2 belts at home now. He could have his 3rd belt at home if he wins tonight. And I really think that, like, he could really go on to be, one of the greatest flyweights of all time for sure. He just has to keep performing the way he is. And yeah, man, Steve Erceg's a great, excuse me, great fighter, great stand up, good scrambles when he hits the ground, and he has decent jiu-jitsu himself. Also, he's on an 11-fight win streak.
Mhm.
Just the momentum alone, that can make you feel like you can defeat any man in the world. It's just a really, I think, like it's just when the reality hits, like, um when the reality hits when Pantoja, like, and when you feel how strong he is. Like, I was watching the countdown show, and Pantoja was benching like 225 pounds, something like that. It's like, for those that have been,
Mhm.
like, when y'all, like, or for those who have, like, bench press before, when you have like the bench and you have like 245s on each side, like, I know some dudes who are 6 foot, they can't bench that kind of, that bench that much weight, and he's like 5'4", 5'5", benching that much, and he weighs 125 pounds. So if you can lift
Right.
100 pounds above your body weight, that means you're a very strong individual. You feel me? So I think in that little frame, I think he's a really, really strong athletic guy, and he's super fast, man. The grappling's gone nowhere. You can tell he was born on a mat. Like, he's been there probably like 2 years old, 3 years old. But the way it's just the speed of his transitions. It's like second to none. I've never seen anything like it in the flyweight division, with the way he'll take the back, then like zoom, 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 like anywhere he wants, all over the ground. Like, it's really, really cool. Yeah, man, I was gonna go with Pantoja in this fight, man. And still, Steve Erceg could win the fight for sure. It'd be crazy, man. He'd have to shock the world. So it would send everyone home on like a cool note. Yeah, you get the pick wrong, but at the end, like it's still cool to see like just like a new champion, and like it would have to be something shocking, like jaw dropping for it to happen. And it's just man. I know Steve Erceg can get the decision win if he the sprawl and brawl, stuff to take down, strike him on the feet. But I think that Pantoja, like he has a lot of experience, man. He's fought through that kind of stuff before. He hits pretty hard himself. He has a granite chin, and I think nothing's gonna stop him from trying to get that takedown all fight, especially fighting in Brazil like that. So, I was gonna go with Pantoja in this fight.
Oh yeah, clean sweep on the main event.
Yeah, we're gonna see how it goes, yo. Like Steve Erceg could definitely get the win for sure. When I thank all y'all again so much for joining us as we did this breakdown. When I thank my boy Fire Realm again for popping in. Really appreciate having you today, bro.
Always, man, always.
Of course, always love watching your content too, guys. Definitely go subscribe to him. We're gonna put his channel down in the description as well. Y'all already know that. And thank y'all again for joining us. Y'all got any closing remarks on the card? I think it's a decent card, man. After reviewing it on paper, it's at least like a 7.5 out of 10. We got to see how the fights play out now, and Costa's looking pretty good against Kevin Borjas right now. Yeah. So, he's looking pretty good against him right now. So we'll see how it goes. But I thought it was I think it's a good card, man. After looking at it, and yeah, like how y'all feel about it? If you could give your card rating before we get out of here.
I think it's a good card, man. I think it's just missing Poatan. If we had Poatan in this, it would be a real like main event. It's just missing a solid main event. Other than that, in my opinion, we got a great card here. I mean, I'm also MMA fanatic, so
of course
it is what it is.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the main event, honestly. I'm a big Pantoja fan. When I remember when he won that decision fight against Moreno, I was kind of tight. But I've grown to Pantoja a lot, so I don't mind the main event, actually. I know most people would, and they rather Alex Pereira, but we just got Pereira, in my opinion. So I think this card, now that it's here, and like I'm about to watch it, I would put it at like an 8. I think a solid 8 is a fair grade for it.
Okay.
Definitely think it's a cool night, man. I always love the foreign crowds too, the chants, a little riot for the fighters, it'd be dead silent after a loss, stuff like that. I always love the foreign crowds too, And after this, we got Makhachev versus Poirier. So we're gonna see Dustin's last stand if Dustin can get the title. Up in Prudential Center, New Jersey. That's where they're fighting at. And yeah, we're gonna see how it goes, y'all. But thank y'all so much. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, go subscribe to MMA Fight Realm as well. Please do.
Shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to the MMAHOLICS. Keep doing your thing, bro. The interview with Ray Longo was amazing.
Thank you so much, bro.
I told Antoine about it. Yo, Nikki, that was dope, for real. You guys got some good questions, man. Keep doing what y'all doing, bro, for real.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, of course, bro. And same to you, bro. Keep putting out the great content, man. You got people watching you. I saw you hit 1,000 views on your other video other day, man. So yeah, congratulations, man. Definitely, absolutely,
thank you, bro.
Of course, bro, always. But thank y'all so much for joining us, and God bless y'all, and good night. Enjoy the fights happening right now.
Let's get in there.
Let's see what happens.